map it out. Okay, right. So let's say that I have this covered. My
Can you
next,
draw it on the left side, maybe? Just a box in a box, or wherever. I meant just
the stage.
how the canvas looks.
Yes. Why not? This canvas has a single stage that's called like TOQA. Let's add the few metadata things, and that thing has.
Maybe you can make it green so it's passed, and you'll have a version.
Triggered by webhook. What else? Outputs. Right? It has outputs.
Yes, it always has outputs.
And Semaphore CE. I don't know, 1.0.3. And that's it.
It's more likely that it'll be called version than Semaphore CE. But it's fine. It's maybe named Semaphore CE version something. But yeah, those are details. That doesn't really matter. No, leave it as this.
Okay, and that's fine. I can. So what do I want to do here? I want to, let's say, I still have just this one stage, but let's go through several scenarios on how I'm using this now, this canvas. So there are releases. Let's say that there is there are 2 more versions. I want to see.
Let's play with RCs. Let's play with RCs in some scenario, because you can end up having a scenario where, let's say, you have already GCP VM and GCP Kubernetes, and there maybe you have RC1, which had a major bug, and now RC2 is arriving, and you want to test it. And yeah, that could be one
RC,
scenario.
let's do this. RC1 failed.
In DO?
Sorry?
RC1 failed in DO, in DigitalOcean?
Yes. We introduced an issue, and it cannot
Is that going to be
install.
like a sequence, or was that?
I'm just trying to
Okay, illustrate
it, and then I somehow restarted this. We'll map it out, and then RC1 passed, and now there is RC2 is being deployed. Let's say that we did a quick sequence of
running. Okay.
Running. You're right. That's the state. My point is that there are few different states, and then there is also RC3 that's in queue, right?
Yeah, it's available to be deployed, but yeah, not sure how that will be represented here. Probably not like that, but okay.
There's no manual approval. Well, then let's not add it. But it's like this, right? So I tested this patch version, and then someone says, hey, we have RC1. And this fails for some reason.
And for sake of the simplicity, you can say that, and then you have RC2 and it passed. Or
You're right. And then we fix the issue, and then it's RC2. But Here's my question. Okay, so what do I want to do? I want to be able to, let's start creating a stage.
Just one quick comment. I mean, this is the nature. The nature of this thing is that you want to have approvals. So things are coming in, and they're ending up in some queue,
Mhm.
and you don't want them just to overrun things, because you might be testing RC4, and doing something,
You're
and
right.
Pedro
Okay.
releases, RC5, and brum, it runs
Okay.
over you.
Okay. 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 So I need to define that here, right? Because I will have some stages where I want.
I mean, the simplest possible thing to potentially say here is manual approval equals required. So you click the checkbox that manual approval is needed before something is promoted into this environment. That's the simplest way possible.
If we're going, if we said that this is like deployment targets, that part is kind of also like deployment targets, I guess.
Yes.
So it's optional. Let's just call it approval, but there is manual needed. List who can approve. That's what we have in
Yeah,
deployment targets. It's just
it's
that,
more or less the same functionality. Yes.
yeah. So I have select this checkbox. I leave this empty because I'm the only person using this right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, I would have this intermediary state of.
I think in the visual representation there, you always want to say what's the state of the environment, and the fact that something is pending, you want to communicate separately.
Yeah.
Um,
So let's talk about it. So I mean, this was creating stage. Let's now talk about using a canvas with single stage. We defined on how I would, as a user, create my first canvas with a single stage, right? But now there's that second part where, okay, how is this working, right? So obviously, Pedro. You 1.0.3. It's a minor patch version. My stage is triggered.
it's added in the queue for your stage, I would say, and is awaiting your approval.
Oh.
I mean, you can say triggered also, but it will not start running. That's my point.
To the queue. Okay, so what do I see on this canvas?
I think that you should see the stage in a color of that is representing the state of the stage. You know, so maybe it's green. So 102 green. 102 green, and on top of that, you should have some very visible, clear indicator, something clickable, that there is something new in the queue to get started.
Since this is a first run, my stage is in 0 state.
Okay, then it's gray.
Yeah, something like that. There is a UI element above the stage indicating there is a new version built in queue. What is in queue?
Well, then new version is essentially in queue. I mean, I don't know what would be the abstract name for it, but
Okay, we need to think of it, but let's just say item, whatever, because it's not version, because there could be multiple versions. Could there? Yeah.
But they would arrive separately in separate events. That's my understanding of things. You would not be deploying two versions, you know, concurrent of two services concurrently, but theoretically it's possible. It's possible.
Then it's a new version, right? You're not doing things.
Yeah.
It's a new version in queue. Okay, so there's a UI element in queue, waiting for approval. I open that review and click approve button.
Yeah.
My stage is in running state. It passes. And deployment is successful. So many double letters, I always mess this up. Okay. Pass deployment is successful. On canvas view, I can see that on Alex DigitalOcean QA stage, there is a, can I do this? Currently. This is important, right? Because it was in 0 state, but now Pedro pushes 110 RC1. You appears. I go and approve this one. Stage starts and fails. Okay, so let's say it fails because in RC1 we have some bug. What is it that I see on my canvas? I don't.
You see a red stage saying error.
Do I see that too?
Yes. I don't think there is any other option, because that might have messed up your environment completely, and you should be alerted about it. So red is the only way to go.
Right, I have something that was partially deployed or yeah, okay.
Mm.
And I would see it like that even if deployment fails to start.
Probably because for us the run is kind of a black box.
Yeah.
I'm going to run something, and it can either be running, passed, failed.
Yeah. So even if it failed to connect to DigitalOcean VM because my credentials changed
Yeah,
or
all of that
something
is a
like
failure. It
that.
has the
I
same
would see it
red.
as a red.
Yes.
Okay. On canvas, I see red stage with okay, so naturally I open stage. I want to see what failed and why, right?
Yeah.
I open the stage and I can see the pipeline or
Yeah, those are like no details, but maybe we show you. Yeah, we navigate you directly to the failed job or the pipeline. Yeah, we'll see.
I can see a link to a pipeline. I open pipeline, I open job, see what the issue is. Let Pedro know. Okay, so he fixes the issue and rolls out V1. Two, I approve it. It's a green stage with okay. So
There is one thing to mention. What about you had a typo in your pipeline, in your configuration of your jobs,
yep.
and you were missing like literal typo. You fix the pipeline, you click save, but I guess it does not run it automatically, because there is no like committing to CI, committing to repo. Repo is hitting the
You're right. Right.
that edit save run. It's probably a little bit different. Again, it's just a run with an inputs, but just saying.
Let's map that out instead because this is very straightforward. See what the issue is. I didn't configure the pipe.
You didn't have helm install, you wrote hell install.
I like that. Okay. So yeah, well, what then? I added the, well, question here is, where does this pipeline config live?
Lives in the database. Lives in the database in your canvas. It is alexdoqa.yaml.
Yeah, that seems like an obvious choice. However, I have some, I'm a bit insecure about that part. It's different from what we currently do.
It's version controlled inside Semaphore. You can connect maybe your backend if you want to keep the backup yourself, in some GitHub repo or wherever. And we are going to sync all of that to that repo. But we are not going to react on those triggers of like configuration changes. It's different, it's that static dynamic, element that we were discussing. Static being, sourced exclusively from the repo, while here it's different. I wouldn't worry about the life cycle of that YAML, wherever it is. Right now, we'll have to see and try and discuss further. I don't think that we have enough brain power right now to dive into that topic.
I agree, but it is something that we need to address.
Yes.
Where does the YAML live? So that is a product and functionality decision that we need to discuss and define. Just give me 1 second. I want to make sure that we map this. All right, so regardless of where it lives, I update it, and what happens then?
You have to run it again. You have to feed that input that you got again into that pipeline.
It doesn't just re-trigger.
I wouldn't do that. I haven't thought about this, too much, but my initial hunch is that should not be the default behavior.
And how do I trigger it again? I'm Alex,
There
and
is some button on the side.
I had this typo, and I changed it. What do I? There's a
You click save, and I think that then you are presented again with the stage, and then there is some button, run V103 or whatever through that.
Stage history. So shows history of runs. Is this okay?
Yeah.
So there is this thing that's like stage history, and where I see all the builds that happened. I find the failed one, latest.
And you wouldn't be able to run it, but you will create a new one, with the same inputs. As it is in Semaphore, there is no concept of rerunning. All history must be preserved and untouched. So it will be a new run with the old inputs. But essentially it will be a rerun,
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, so queue and these are separate things. Yeah, while I'm messing with this, let's complicate it a bit. While I'm messing with this, in the meantime, Pedro released V110 RC2. That is now in queue. Stage history. No, fine. V110 RC1 is added to the queue. RC1, this is rebuilt or rerun. Two, I go to the queue list.
Why after?
Because RC2 came in first, and then I clicked the rerun, and RC2 rerun came
Okay,
here.
but I'm not sure that it should be added to the top.
It's last in.
I understand, but maybe it's not.
How would you decide it that it goes in front?
I don't know, maybe there is a button, add to the end, add to the front of the queue.
I mean, I don't see why I wouldn't be able to have multiple items in the queue and I just choose whatever I want to run next.
I agree with that. I just don't think that system should be limiting, because if you install RC2, you might not be able to install RC1 after that because some migration will be run, and I mean, system should not force you to deploy RC2 first and then you deploy RC1. But I think that you should have some element of flexibility. For a long time, I have. You might be able. You should be able to say, okay, I don't want to deploy this. I'm removing this queue from queue. I'm archiving it. I'm disabling it. It's not going to be item because I have 7 versions queued. By that time, I already know that one is faulty. Whatever. But you should have some configurable control over the queue.
Yes. Well, let's use this example to talk about it. So let's say that instead of new run with the same inputs, I have, in addition to that, option to put it at the end or at the start of the queue. Doesn't really matter. Or it automatically goes to the start of the queue. If it goes to the start of the queue, I can say, hey, this is at the start of the queue, but I realize now that Pedro released RC2.
I don't even want to deal with this one.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I have this because it's an updated YAML of the stage, but stage YAML is saved, and I don't want to.
Yeah, you should be able to eliminate this one.
Yeah. So how do I handle this?
It should be clear to everyone that Alex decided that this RC1 is obsolete, deprecated, whatever, and it's not going to be pushed through the system. It's going to be preserved for the sake of history, but that's about it.
So I have to select front or back of the queue. There is no way for us to figure out where the rebuild will fit into the queue, like, oh, it's in the 3rd place out of 10.
I don't think so.
Because we don't know. It's just a string. The version is just a string, and
can be also a SHA. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So in this case, I clicked new run with same inputs. Dialog is okay, front or back of the queue. I choose front, so it's in the front before RC2, but I realize that there's RC2. There is newer version, so I don't want to deploy RC1 anymore, and I click reject. It is removed from the queue. I approve RC2 and it runs. So I can still see history of that queue and who approved what.
Yeah.
In the so there is two different things. There is stage history, and that is what has actually been started, and there is, well, maybe it's the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see about visual representation. What's in my head right now is you click on stage, and then there is that thing that slides out that drawer from the side. On top you have a queue and what's pending, and below you have a history. In the middle you have the latest or what's running as a prominent thing, and then it's kind of like a page, and then you can have various interactive elements there.
Okay. Yeah. Some filter or something, but I definitely need to be able to see that this was rejected. Okay. Is there any other use? Well, I don't see. It's just a matter of, let's say I have 10 new versions for whatever reason in the queue, and I want to pick one, I select it. So if I have 10 versions, right, and I want version 7 or 5 to be deployed, do I need to reject the ones before it, or do I click on it and move it in front of the queue?
I mean, both are options, definitely. Drag and drop seems like attractive. My hunch is that people would not want to allow that by default. Since, I think that more likely solution would be that you would somehow have to click on each of those previous ones and kind of disable them, or make them deprecated, or I don't know what to
reject them.
Rejecting, let's say.
Right.
Yeah.
And
they
if
will be removed from the queue, they will be put into the history as rejected, and they're no longer in the queue, definitely.
items, I have to reject 2 of them first. Okay, all clear. So there's no option of arbitrarily approving things in the queue. You need to do it in order, right? So if I have 5 items,
that is a good idea. That is a good idea, actually. That that you can there are things in the queue, and you can approve 3 items, and that would mean that all 3 of them will be deployed sequentially, and you would not have to wait for one to be deployed and then to approve the next one, which is a very interesting thing to be able to do.
Is it going to work like that, or I have to click on reject 2 times and then approve the item number 3 if I want item 3?
I'm speaking about different scenario. I'm speaking about scenario where you come into your system and you want V1, V2, and V3 to be deployed, but you don't have to wait for V1 to be deployed, and then you come again and click on V2. Okay, now deploy V2, but you pre-approve them.
But what do you mean we want all 3 of them to be deployed? There can be only one version on the environment.
Once V1 is deployed, you want V2 to be deployed, and once V2 deployed, you want V3 to be deployed. I mean, if those versions are carrying some migrations in them, You
Okay.
have to run them through the system.
Okay.
I mean, this is like probably year 2.
Yeah.
Feature, but
Okay. So there are
you're
two
talking
queues.
about the interactivity of the queue, or what are the operations that are available?
There's a queue and there is the running queue or approved queue.
It should be all one, like, visually.
They run in parallel. Well, no, they run sequentially.
They run sequentially, but I think that there should be only one visual representation of things that are.
Yeah. Yeah, but technically there are two queues: review queue and execution queue.
Yes.
Because even if I do it this way, I can click approve.
Yeah.
And there is, if I click three items, I have 3 items in the queue. Okay, that's clear. All right, so we covered how I'm using this stage. Okay. Now, that's it? We're not, okay. Okay. Next thing that we need to map.
But have more than one stage.
We can do that on the next one is. Yes, I have. Let's just define this, what my goals are for the next thing, if that's okay, and then we can break it off.
Yep.
This I want to. I want to automate. Nah, it's fine. We will remember by tomorrow. We're meeting tomorrow, so.
Okay.
Things you will rarely hear product managers saying. Let's not write it down. All right, then let's sign off.
Okay.